Vamos a tener una última plática, es una conferencia de semiología del trabajo y el futuro del ser humano en la empresa. Creo que lo que vamos a ver ahora es un proceso, una plática interesante para cerrar el ciclo de todos los pilares que hemos discutido hasta el día de hoy y para darle un cierre también a lo que Arnoldo nos acaba de decir. Para esto tenemos a nuestro patrocinador Arancione, que va a lanzar un video. Patti.
¿Qué es lo que genera valor agregado en una compañía? En esencia, una compañía tiene por un lado recursos y estructura y por el otro cultura corporativa y el talento de todos sus empleados. En la medida en que los empleados puedan utilizar y trabajar con sus talentos, la compañía genera su ventaja competitiva. Aquí es donde TMA entra. Nosotros entregamos resultados tangibles y sostenibles. Dejamos ver los talentos de todos los empleados. Llevamos el diálogo del talento a un nivel sin precedentes. Impulsamos el liderazgo basado en el talento. Hacemos posible que los empleados puedan tomar acción y responsabilidad propia sobre su contribución y el desarrollo de su carrera. TMA, de talento a desempeño.
Muy bien, invito a Pilar Martínez para que nos dé una breve introducción de lo que es Arancione.
Gracias. Arancione somos una firma de Headhunting y gestión de talento. En Arancione destacamos el talento de la persona mediante assessments que proporcionan datos útiles para que los líderes puedan tomar decisiones sólidas. Estamos muy contentos de participar en este Simposium. Muchas gracias a Carlos y a José Antonio por incluirnos en este proyecto y sobre todo por el impacto que está teniendo. Como dice mi socio y mi buen amigo André Blom, cuando compartimos, multiplicamos.
Gracias, Pilar. Me toca presentar a André, aunque ya se subió. Bienvenido, André. Voy a hacer una presentación muy rápida. Pero bueno, André Blom es el CEO y cofundador del método TMA, que ya nos va a explicar, espero, un poco más de qué se trata, ¿no? Ha tenido una carrera en Holanda, en el Dutch Royal Marine Corps. Ha estudiado ciencias sociales, pedagogía y reclutamiento en Holanda. Durante 12 años ha desarrollado una única perspectiva en el liderazgo y en el manejo de talento, ¿no? En general. Hoy André trabaja intensivamente de manera intercultural y en el desarrollo de talento tanto en Europa, Asia, África y Sur y Centroamérica, por eso lo tenemos aquí. Y bueno, creo que voy a dejar que tú mismo presentes el método porque creo que va a hablar mucho de lo que haces en Europa y ahora vienes a hacer a América. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenido, André.
Perdón, no hablo español. Thank you. Jesus, what a power talk. It's so nice to be here and then having this experience that people are speaking so straight from the heart. It's very inspiring. So I hope that I can, with my PowerPoint presentation, that I am not ruining that epical moment. The digital transfer. So I brought, of course, aligned with all the new technology, my adaptive PowerPoint presentation using analog technology. We have been discussing these days, the last 2 days, many things, and I think it's evident that this is our future workforce, where people are aligned with technology. And if I may recall how Donna, one of the ladies who spoke first on the event, stipulated it so nicely, saying like we have humans working, doing repetitive cognitive work, that is going to be automated and overtaken by the robots, by the technology. And then the hybrid form, where it is about artificial intelligence and machine learning, how people are interacting with that in that hybrid form. And then the unique human capacity. And we have been discussing a lot about the war on talent, and that we should focus on talent. And you know, this is a rhetoric that we already using so many years, that human capital is the true asset of an organization, because systems, technology that can be bought is accessible for everybody, but it's humans who are making the difference. And we're always talking about it, but what do we actually mean with talents? If I would address that to you, then I can easily say, when I look in this room, everybody has talents. But the question is, for what and under which conditions? And another question is, and let me use somebody you will all know, probably, take a good football player, Ronaldo. He's a genius with football, right? But what makes him so talented? Is it a gift? And what he has to do with that? So what we are saying, if you're talking about talent management or talents in the organization, there is something inside you, a gift, but that needs to be developed in order to manifest itself in a competence, in a skill. Because I can tell you one thing, Ronaldo is training every day. If you take a guy like Messi, another phenomenon in football, he's doing extremely well in Barcelona, but if he plays for the Argentina team, he doesn't reach his level. Why is that coming from? Did he drop his talents? Is he not training hard enough? Is he not engaged? Is he not willing? Is he not able? It is the setting where he's working in. And that makes a human being unique, but it also means that we need to treat people as unique people, as adults. And that kind of potential, we're always talking about it, unleash that potential, right? Why is it that in the sports we are training and training and training for these unique momentums? And what do we do in our business life? We hire somebody on a flirt. I'm sending in a CV. The company is saying this is the greatest company on earth where you can work. And the candidate who is coming in, he is writing a CV, he let it checked by 5 or 6 other people. And then we start to flirt with each other. Actually, we start with a lie. Both of us. The company and the employee. Do you recognize this? Then how can we land people? Why are we struggling with retention? Why is that? We are all bright, intelligent people. Why are we doing this to ourselves? That is the main question. So what I say is, like, if you have an organization and you want to work and to be relevant for the future, you really have to do things in a different way. Because where we're coming from, that was great, but at this point, in this era, where we have so many challenges, so many opportunities, we cannot go on our normal routines anymore. And what Donna also stipulated so much, our future is not decided yet. But it is, how do we link this? Where do we start and decide the course that we are taking? And it's not only the impact that we have when it comes to digital transformation or to all the technologies or what's going on in the world, it is creating a social economical impact to all of us. Does this make sense? So let's see what the disruption is. Because the technology, the digital technology, is not only disrupting things, it's also bringing good things. And let me give you some context. I come from Holland, but I lived the last 10 years in Denmark. Denmark is known as the most digitalized country in the world. Everything is digital. Money became completely obsolete, hard cash in the pocket. I can pay by my phone, I can transfer by my phone money on your account just by a simple swipe. Done. I get a statement of the bank, and that statement is verified by the tax authorities. Everything is open. If I go to a doctor, he's not giving me a prescription anymore. He's typing it in. I go to any drugstore and I can get my prescription. If I go to school with my kids, I can open up my digital phone and I know exactly the program of my kids. So everything is digitalized there. We have a welfare country. We're also the country where we pay the most tax. And we had quite an epic moment last week, of last day. The socialists won in Europe, in Denmark. That means that all the anti-discriminative, anti-immigration, they lost major. And what does that make? How does that work with us? We have such a strong unit, such a strong belief, such a heart pumping, like the previous speaker was also talking about Mexico. It is the heart for the people. And we cannot neglect all the disruption. Think about the geopolitics. What are our politicians doing? If you listen to their rhetorics, it's becoming almost unhuman. It is blaming, it's fighting, it's accusing each other. The rhetorics that they are using, they are becoming poor around the world. If you think about climate change, of course there is a lot of discussion about it. I work in Kenya and I see that people are dying because of climate change. The nomads who are relying on the goats, they haven't had rain for 10 years, it's drying, there's no food, people are dying of climate change. Think about globalization. Think about the social media. The good things about it, the bad things about it. Because there are dark sides. Social media is one of the major causes that they did research in the University of Amsterdam, more than 25% of the students are considering or had done it once to commit suicide because of the stress, because of the pressure on them. So there's a lot of disruption. Do you know anything else? Think about the distribution of wealth or welfare, what the previous speaker also was talking about. The richer become richer, the poorer become poorer. And with all the knowledge and everything that we have, you can actually see it as the mouth of a shark. The gaps are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what will it do once? It will snap. So the disruption in itself, each little element or each disruption, we can digest. We can work with that. We are intelligence. We are survivors as humankind. We can do that. But the velocity and the amount of disruption that is coming across to us, what we have to do, that is the big challenge. And it will impact us major. Think about what is happening now. We are now facing the momentum where the generation that is born completely in a digital environment is coming to the jobs. And of course, every generation has its own characteristics. They are capable of doing that. My youngest daughter, 4 years old, she is swiping on the iPad. She finds her way, she can find her movies. My 8-year-old daughter is saying, "Dad, look at your phone. All the data that is in of all the cookies, you can be hacked." And she shows me how I can erase that. And it's not because they have all the access, but they have this kind of mindset. That generation is ticking in a different way than us. You know what they do? They are called the truth finders. You cannot fool them anymore because they do their own research. They do their own curation on the internet. They don't trust everything. And another element of them is they go for the dialogue. They listen to the Islam, they listen to the Catholics, and they find their own way. They are not against gender diversity. They listen and they find their own identity. The way they are thinking about consuming, and that is going to be forecast, that is forecasted as a bigger impact than the social economical evolution. They are forecasting based on their consumption. It is not about possessing, but it's about access. If you look at the attention rate that they have, the millennials, you have to attract them when it comes to marketing in 12 seconds. The new generation in 6. And that is also going to disrupt us. So how are we going to deal with this? How are we going to deal with this? Still in the phase, in the momentum, as we are organized now, a top-down, based on Taylorism, based on what Henry Ford once did with assembling a car. In how many minutes did he do it? In 3 or 4? Or 12, I don't even know, but it was unique, it was amazing. And then the Taylorism came. And what do we have here? We have created silos, units, business lines, the middle management. Leadership is what we call, this is what we call leadership. Middle management. They are occupied with processes and bureaucracy and documents and compliance, and then we have the top. And if you think about the numbers, how much are people engaged or doing things, well, I think most engaged people are sitting here. And when it comes to making decisions, the decision-making unit, where does the decision take place? It takes a long time. And if you think about the velocity of all the disruptive elements that are coming into our circles. I'm standing here in front of financial people. Do you really believe that the monetary system will stay alive? If you listen to the economists, they say like economies kind of have a self-hygienial protocol. But they fear that the monetary system is going to collapse. What will that do? Whoever considered that? What do you do on an innovative level to deal with that? So these are, of course, you can see that as threats. But how I see it as challenges and opportunities to create a better world. How do we do that? My statement is, bring back humanity into business. Because this is a mechanical, they call it scientific management, this is a mechanical organization. Our customers are not satisfied anymore. What do? We install a unit quality management. Instead of letting the people give a little bit more space and freedom to do what they do. I just had a personal case. An internet provider, we installed glass fiber in our house, and he is promising in the contract 300 MB up and down. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I'm having 20. So I call the service desk. Then they say you have to test it. Then I deliver the test results. Then they say no, you have to do it with a cable. Then I do it with a cable. Then they say we can send a technical guy to check if the router that we have provided is on the right frequency. And I'm saying like, but you have to pay for that when he's coming. Is this the service? I would rather help you, but without payment I cannot do it. You know what? Terminate the contract. And what is such a company going to do with that? I mean, this is not how it's supposed to be. So how do I think that it should be done? And this is more transformed into a more organic way of doing things. Organic. And that means that if you have people, the right talents on board with diversity, and you give them a mandate to do things together in an organic way, and in the middle there is leadership who is picking up the dialogue, who is creating a narrative, who is creating the sentiment in the organization, then you come to what we now call in a very modern world, an agile environment, where a few things are important. Action. These should be action-driven. And that is the part that doesn't work here anymore. Because if you want to do something different, if you want to accomplish something, you have to go up through the processes, through the bureaucracy before you can do it. You're too late. Right? Another thing is you have to be adaptive. Doesn't mean that the leader knows all of the things, but trust on your people. Treat them like adults. They can consume. They know where information can be gathered or can be get. They know how to work with that. Start up that dialogue. Give them that space. Right? And the leadership is not by telling people what to do or situational leadership, I delegate or I do. No. Leadership is about connecting the units like the blood veins. See an organization as a human being. You have the heart. The heart is there for the brains, for the muscles, for everything. It's pumping blood. The kidney has its. And if you look at an organization like that, it becomes much more organic. And you can bring back humanity back in business. Because that is one thing. That is one thing. And that is what I've learned from my children. I can pacify them with an iPad. Or I can ask them, will you join me and cook the meal with me? You know how happy they are to throw away the iPad? And then I should not come in and say like, oh, but these onions should be cut like this. Or I'm not allowing you to give the knife because I think it's dangerous. Yeah, they might cut themselves once, maybe even twice. So what? But if you include them, and that is my key point here, if you include and you actively participate as a leader in the group, not to decide what's going to happen, but go around with them, deal with them, experiment with them, then you get a contribution from them and not just an employee who's ticking the box. Yeah? And to work, of course, in an agile way. That is important. How do you transfer like this? Well, what I've learned in my life, and I've picked it up from, particularly from my family. If I look at my family as an organization, I have children. I have a purpose with the children, right? I want to have a legacy. I want them to grow up in the right way. What do I do with my wife? Do I have an annual review? Do I decide on KPIs? Do I work with processes? Well, I do. I have kind of a system in myself. But the fundament of doing things together is to have a dialogue and really be present. If you're present, really switch off, focus and be present, you can gain so much in 5 minutes. Yeah? Does this make sense? And if you use that metaphor, how can I position myself in my role as a leader, but also as an active participant? How would I do it in my family life? Probably you will find your way. It isn't difficult. You know, we are I would say configured to communicate, to have a dialogue. This is why we are on the top on the food chain. We connect our brains. If you look at an organization and you want to work in a way so that you are sustainable and can make some impact, some social economical impact, because that is what we do. You know how many hours people are spending on working in their life? If they're in a job, you have 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours a day. Think about, especially in, there are some professions where you're working 10, 12 hours a day, right? And then even if you're at home, your mind is still not, you need to sleep, you need time for yourself, you need time for your family, you need all all that pressure, right? So, how to deal with all this disruption? I think you should tap in on the talents of people. People can do a lot more than they are allowed to. People are doing their things. And if you look at the big surveys around the world, it is about, you know, I'm doing my things, but I'm not challenged on my talents. I'm not challenged on the things that I could do because I'm restricted by systems, by management, by mandates, by profiles, right? And those talents, they have to be configured around in a social context. You cannot work with everybody. And there needs to be a diversity in the team. Because if everybody can do the same, but if you feel that you can add value to the team and the team can add value to you, that you can contribute and you get the right amount of attention, then you feel connected, right? Culture. Your talents are deciding the culture. And culture is, of course, a big thing. But you can also make it very simple. What is the culture? It is just the way we do things here. The way we address to each other, the way we communicate with each other, the way we respect each other. That is not so difficult. What is the culture in your family? It's something that you have to have in your mind. Because culture needs to be cultivated, right? And then you have the identity. Those elements are deciding the identity of an organization, right? And this is how you are going to be recognized. Now, I'm not saying that you should go on the other side and that it are all loose elements because it is an integrated whole with each other. Another thing is you need to work agile. And with agile, that means that allow people to absorb what's going on and be flexible enough to change things. And that is quite something for leadership. Allow people to work, right? And then you have to reimagine all the time. Because what we are doing now, we have an organizational structure and we are almost like in a lock-in. And we cannot think anymore, okay, now I'm ready, my configuration is okay, I'm good for the next 5 years. In the old days, with the speed of things, how things are evolving, in the old days, you could say like, my strategy is there for 5 years. And sometimes we use the metaphor of a tanker or a sail ship. And how hard is it to turn around with a sail ship or divert the course of a mammoth tanker? Right? What is the strategy now? When I'm talking to CEOs or to HR vice presidents and I'm asking them, how does your workforce look like in the next 5 years? They say, 5 years? Okay, then rephrase. 2 years. Actually, Andre, I'm happy that we have enough headcounts now to do the job. I have no idea how it looks like in half a year. We're struggling with retention, our budgets. And what about the quality of work? Well, we're happy that we have the people. We cannot train, we cannot educate. Is that correct? If it comes to education, we always say like, oh, the results are not good enough, let's drop that. If we are not capable of dealing with data, with robots, and bringing an organic way of working with each other, then you will lose it per definition. You will lose it. You can actually also say like, let's see how I'm a surfer. What are we doing now as an organization? We're trying to catch up, pedal as hard as we can to get over the wave so that we can start surfing. Does that make sense? Not at all. What you really have to do is to reimagine and take a deep dive. and organize yourself in a good way so that you can accelerate in slow motion. And what do I mean with that? If I take a deep dive and I'm prepared, I take the loop, I reorganize, I service, come up to the service, and then I'm ready for the next wave. And in that metaphor, a wave is always ending on the beach. So that is an ongoing process. You have to take a deep dive, and that is what I mean with reimagine. And if you don't have that creativity, if you don't take that space, you will never get there. Right? You will lose the business. How is it? This is how scientific management is working. We are in control. And one of the things that fits with control is we are dedicated. We have love, or we have passion, or we are engaged with the organization. We want to have it, make it good. But what happens, controlling has to do, it doesn't resonate with trust. If you want to control, you're actually communicating, I don't trust you. And it's imprisoning people. So now you don't want to go to anarchy, right? Because with anarchy you can say, I don't care. But you are allowed to do whatever you want. These are the wings. Fly wherever you want. I don't care. That is not how an organization should work. What is this? This is chaos. And what is this? This is order. And what is this? This is a word that I invented. I call it chaotic. And this is where innovation takes place. And this is how my family is working. I would like that my children are making decisions and exploring according to an order, to a standard that is based on values, not on a process. Are they allowed to fail? Yes. I create an environment of fail. And what do? I don't blame. I don't have a no-blame policy. When I'm not blaming, then I can have a dialogue with them. Because I cannot pretend that I'd never failed. I made many mistakes in my life. So this is a kind of a way of thinking, how can I organize a setting so that I can tap in on the talents and allow people to be innovative. And now it's about co-creation, and now I'm going to make it very short. And this is referring to our previous speaker. When we look at people, they have a life, right? And in that life, they have a need for education. That's the beautiful thing of a child. It's always asking why. And what do when we grow up? We take that away from us. We are not allowed to ask why anymore. But this is such a human thing. We want to develop, right? And then there's work. And I'm saying, no, work doesn't exist anymore in the future. It is contribution. Tap in on your talents, because the world is changing. So many jobs are not even existing anymore. We get new jobs. The basic will be maybe 25% IT related and 75% service related, right? So we contribute. And now comes the nice thing about co-creation. What does the industry do? And what does the sector of education do? And what does the government do? When I go to universities or to vocational schooling, and I ask what is the economical relevance of your students, they have no idea. They have no idea. When I go to the industry, and I'm asking the students that are delivered, are they resonating with your needs? It's hard to find the right persons. And if I go to the government, what do? There is really a mismatch in this, and therefore I think we should bridge that. We are I would not say captains of industries, but we can make the difference. If we tap in and we involve ourselves as we are working in the industry with the sector of education, even from the pre-childhood, the preschoolers, and we make sure that the government can take the right decision, then everybody has a chance. Because the gap in our social, economical environment on the globe is huge. And if we are not tapping in on that, it's going to be, in my head, a big disaster. And that is not what I will allow as a future of my child. And I think if we then think about this, how can we make a better world with all the disruption that there is? We can do this. And it's simple. Just bring humanity back in business. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you very much, André. Los invito a todos a entrar en la página de Arancione. Porque,
thank you well.
André, wait a minute,
Just a
please.
moment, please. Just a moment.
Los invito a entrar en la página de Arancione porque van a encontrar cosas muy interesantes. Creo que esto está en línea con el pilar que vimos ayer y nada más les voy a poner una pregunta. ¿Qué pasaría si en lugar de desgastarnos trabajando con la gente en facetas que acaban siendo difíciles de desarrollar, trabajásemos con la naturaleza de cada persona? Creo que esto va en línea con el pilar humano y les invito a que lo lean aquí y disfruten un poco más de lo que André nos presentó.
Le vamos a pedir a Carlos, por favor,
sí.
si puede
Carlos
subir a darlos, y a José Antonio.
Y a José Antonio para
si
que
pueden
le
subir a dar un reconocimiento. Thank you well.
Thank you.
Thank you.